Hi everybody, I am Dr. Karthika with you. As you all know, I am a consultant endodontist working with Apollo White Dental, Bangalore. Today I have got an opportunity to explain my views about the endodontic consideration in dental traumatic injuries, which I have learnt through my expertise in past these couple of years. So first let us understand what is dental traumatic injury. It is like a sudden impact on the face or the head region, which may result with the damage of tooth and its supporting structures. Now, the most common causes being are fall, road traffic accidents, and sports, which contribute about 20 to 60% of dental traumatic injuries. And the other causes are violence and abuse. Now, as you may all have seen that majority of the time, the upper front teeth are the most victims. So that could also be because of the position of the teeth, and in cases where you have a malalignment, the patient has a malalignment of the teeth. So these are the reasons which could be causing the causing the fractures of the upper front teeth. So now when a trauma takes place, what are the points which will make us realize that dental trauma has occurred? So when you go to see a dental doctor and while the examination of the patient, certain questions he would ask, like when, where, how did the trauma occur, and certain examinations, like if there is a sudden change in the bite or if he is experiencing any pain while biting. So these are the questions which would help a doctor to achieve to a proper diagnosis, and along with other primary investigations, that is the x-rays and the vitality of the teeth, he can also plan proper treatment action. So now before going to different commonly occurring traumatic injuries, I would like to discuss the tooth anatomy and its supporting structures. So here this is the picture of the tooth anatomy. In this, the tooth is divided into two parts. One is the crown, that is the upper portion which is seen in the oral cavity, and the down portion, that is the root of the tooth, which is inside the socket, alveolar socket, which is surrounded by gums. So the crown portion of the tooth is made up of three layers. The outer layer named as enamel, which is the hardest layer, which is in white color, white to yellowish color, and the second layer is the dentine, which consists of lot of dentinal tubules. The importance of the dentinal tubules I will be telling you when I will be going on with the traumas. And this dentine encloses a soft tissue which is known as dental pulp. So the portion which comes in the crown area is known as pulp chamber, which runs along the tooth till the root tip, and it is called as root canal in the root portion. The same way, the root is also covered by three layers. The outer layer known as cementum, which is less mineralized layer than the enamel, and the dentine and the root canal. So this entire tooth is placed in the socket with the help of a ligament known as periodontal ligament. So now, as we have understood the tooth anatomy and the structures and its surrounding structures, now let us move to the most commonly occurring traumatic injuries. Yeah. So these are the types of traumatic injuries we normally see. So I have just made it in a pictorial way so that I will be able to explain it to you. Yeah. So the first common and simple traumatic injury is the first type, that is which occurs only at the enamel. That is, the enamel portion is the one which is being fractured. So in this case, the patient may not have any pain or sensitivity, and it's a very simple fracture which can be, depending on the extent of the fracture, the treatment can vary from just recontouring the fragment or the tooth contour, and or building up the tooth, the lost portion, by tooth colored materials which are available now, that is composite and resin materials. The second one is also a simple fracture which extends a little more forward, which includes the second layer, that is the dentine. So like I told before, the dentine consists of lot of dentinal tubules, which gives a way for the bacterial contamination and the inflammation, that is the irritation of the pulp because of the bacterial contamination. So because of that, the patient will feel sensitivity once the injury occurs. So the primary goal of this fracture, the primary goal of treatment is to protect the pulp tissue, because the pulp tissue has to be alive for the tooth to be alive. So to protect the pulp tissue, the main thing what we can do is we have to seal the exposure point and then rebuild it up with the composite material. We have other options also like indirect veneers, and there's one more option which is like, if you have the fractured fragment with you once, like if you get the fracture fragment, you can always go to the dentist immediately, so that without any extra dry time, the dentist can always reattach the fragment. In these two cases, as it is minimal and simple trauma, the pulp response cannot be determined. So as the patient will not have any pain or anything, the pulp response is not determined or is not predictable. So we'll have to wait for 6 to 8 weeks and do a re-evaluation again, along with the X-rays and the vitality. Vitality test means that certain electric impulses are given to get some response from the tooth. So basically the readings it gives shows the vitality of the pulp tissue. The third type is known as the complicated fracture, in which we have the pulp exposure which occurs, that is the enamel, the second layer, the dentine, and there would be an exposure of the pulp. The exposure of the pulp will range from pinpoint exposure to the total exposure of the pulp tissue. So the treatment also depends on how the exposure is. So there are various treatments depending on the time of the trauma and the time between the trauma and the treatment and the exposure of the pulp. If there is a pinpoint exposure and if the time of treatment is less than 24 hours, we can proceed with pulp capping, that is sealing of the pinpoint exposure and building up of the tooth. This will always prevent the vitality of the pulp. And the other one is depending on a little more if the pulp is exposed and the extra oral exposure duration is around 24 to 48 hours. There is a procedure known as pulpotomy. Pulpotomy means that the part of the pulp is being removed, it's been cleaned, made free of contamination, and then it's been sealed and given a filling. In these two cases, we will have to have a regular follow-up in a thing of 6 to 8 weeks, then 3 months, 6 months and 1 year. At least these are the minimum time period for the follow-up. And then if the exposure is huge and there is an extensive loss of tooth structure occurring, the only option left is the tooth will have to go for a root canal, as the rebuilding up of tooth structure is not possible just by filling. So we will have to undergo entirely a root canal and then go for a prosthesis like a cap. And then the other type of trauma is the tooth becomes completely dead. That is basically seen after many years after the trauma occurred. Most of the time the patients will not even realize that there was a trauma happened to the tooth. They only get to know when the tooth starts showing its color change. So the color comes around grayish color. So that is when the patients are, even after repeated recalling, they understand it was because of the trauma. So in case if it is a young immature tooth, that is the tooth in which your root has not completely formed. So in those cases, we can always try for a regeneration. But you need a lot of compliance from the patient and lot of follow-ups is required. If it's a permanent tooth, we can always go for a root canal, and the color discoloration can be treated by either bleaching or veneers or crowns. The next type of traumatic injury is known as avulsion, which means that the tooth is completely out of its socket. So this basically happens because of an impact which, the force of impact would be much more than the force of the bonding between the tooth and the ligament. So it can just knock out the tooth from the oral cavity, from the socket. So in certain conditions, as a patient, what are the points we should keep in our mind to, in case trauma occurs at a site and the tooth is avulsed, what are the points we should, as a patient, we should take care? Firstly, do not panic. Then secondly, hold the tooth from the crown portion. You should always hold the tooth from the crown portion, and do not try brushing the tooth or do not try to touch near the root area. Just as possible as try to seek the dental care, and the way you have to transport the tooth, because there is a probability of a reimplantation which can be done by the dentist only if the tooth is being transported properly. So for that, always try to get either a coconut water, cold milk, saline, and even saliva is possible. If not, we can also keep the tooth inside the mouth just to prevent any kind of dryingness of the tooth, basically the fibers of the roots. So if we carry it in these mediums, the preservative, the vitality of the tooth is being preserved. So once we reach the dental doctor, they can always do the cleaning with certain chemicals like citric acid and all that, and then they can proceed with the reimplantation. One thing which we should observe is that lesser the time of reimplantation, the better the prognosis. And the best time within what we can reimplant should be around 15 minutes, if not maximum up to 60 minutes, to preserve the vitality of the tooth. Then and the other complications which could occur when we try to do the reimplantation is there could be ankylosis. Ankylosis is basically the tooth which has been reimplanted gets fused with the bone. So that time this is a complication, like it's a sequelae, so that could be the cause. And one more thing is, once the tooth is being avulsed, it definitely needs a root canal treatment. Either it should be done before the reimplantation procedure, or after reimplantation we have to splint the tooth with the adjacent teeth so that the tooth is being stabilized, and after 7 to 10 days the root canal treatment can be started. Then comes and in case of primary teeth, if the avulsion occurs, it is better to either leave it off, or it can be used as now the root is completely, if the tooth is completely avulsed, you can just trim the tooth, the crown portion, clean the crown internally, and fill it with the filling material, and that can be used as a temporary purpose just for cosmetics and for phonetics. Otherwise, we just have to leave it and go for space maintainer for kids in whom the permanent tooth will take lot of time to erupt. Then comes the root fracture. These are fractures which rarely occur, around 3% to 4% chances of all the dental traumatic injuries. But once it occurs, it always has a different prognosis. Like it depends on the position of the fracture of the root. So like how I told before, the root is divided into, the tooth is divided into crown and the root. Here the root is also divided into 1/3. So the first one is the coronal third, the next is the middle third, and the last one is the apical third. So the more apical, the more best prognosis. So it shows that in apical fragments, the prognosis is best, as the apical fragment would just remain like that and would not cause any infection. So what happens is, if the fracture occurs at the apical third, there are other options, like we can leave the apical fragment, do the entire root canal treatment of the entire coronal fragment. If there is no mobility and all, we can do the coronal fragment root canal treatment. That is one option. Second option, you can, if you are able to get the patency with the apical fragment, you can always do the root canal completely. Third option, the apexification, like I told, it is a stimulation of calcific barrier. So once the fracture occurs, the coronal end of the fracture fragment needs might be a little wide, so that will need a closure. So for that we place certain materials like calcium hydroxide and induce a calcific barrier formation there. So that is known as apexification. And if the tooth fails, the other option is surgically removing the apical fragments. So this is for the apical third fracture, which has the best prognosis. Now comes the middle third fracture. In middle third, the prognosis varies from favorable to good, depending on the time of treatment, the time gap between the injury and the treatment started, and the tooth mobility. If the mobility is less and it is possible to splint the tooth and stabilize it for 2 weeks, the treatment options are same, both the fragments to be root canal treated, that is one option. Otherwise, the surgically the apical fragment, that is the apical part of the fragment, should be removed, and something like an apexification. Third option, placing an endodontic splint or an implant kind of. Endodontic implant can be placed which will act as the supportive thing inside the bone. Other one is using an intraradicular splint. I'll just show you the picture for it. Yeah, this is the one which I told, the endodontic implant. It's basically the apical fragment has been removed and the implant has been kept inside the root canal. So that acts as a part of root which is inside the socket. And then even like I told, there could be splinting can be done using the post or a fiber material or a metal material can be placed in both the sockets, both the fragments. So and then coming to the cervical third, that is the coronal third, which is near to the gum area. So if a fracture occurs at the cervical third, the coronal fragment will be quite loose. It will be shaking a lot, so the prognosis is very poor. So in such cases, what we normally do is the coronal fragment will be removed, will be extracted, and then there are procedures like gum surgery, like it's like a trimming of the gum known as gingivectomy. Around 1 mm to 2 mm the gum is being trimmed, and later on the portion of the tooth which is inside, which is in the gum area, will be extruded, will be brought down by using orthodontic treatment. So like this, the fragment will be pulled down by using brackets. So once we get the sufficient tooth structure below, the fragment, the area which has been exposed to the oral cavity can be taken as a sound tooth structure for giving prosthesis. So this is about the root fracture. So I've covered about the apical, middle and the coronal third of the root fracture. So all the traumatic injuries basically require a proper follow-up, because there could be complications like how I told, there are something resorption, that is eating away of the tooth structure. Our body itself reacts and could eat up the tooth structure. So those cases we might have to go for any surgical approach or an extraction, but that is just a sequelae or a complication. So the next traumatic injury is luxation injury, that is the displacement of tooth from its socket, but it's not completely getting out, it is just displacement. So either the tooth can displace buccally, that is front, or towards your inner side, sideways. These injuries occur mainly because of the horizontal forces. So in these cases, in certain cases of trauma, there will be a very mild displacement, in the sense it will be just negligible and there won't be much of movement. So in such cases, just regular follow-ups and pulpal response checking would be enough. In case where your tooth has completely moved, in the sense it is moved towards your front or back, what we can do is, what the dentist will do is, by using a minimal force, the tooth has to be repositioned back to its original place. And once, it should be a steady and slow force. So once it has been repositioned, the doctor will be splinting the teeth to stabilize it in the position which has been achieved. So that takes around 2 weeks, and it should be always kept out of occlusion. Occlusion means the way you bite. The normal bite we have is the occlusion. So out of occlusion it should be, so that the healing would be faster. And second, there are other displacement movements also, that sometimes we notice that the tooth has moved up. The patients come that my tooth was not at this position, it was little down, but it's moved up. So those are known as intrusive luxation injuries. So in that, the tooth goes into the socket. Like in this picture, the tooth has moved inside. But this is the most damaging type of injury what can be caused, because it is going to damage the ligament what is there. So because of that, this tooth needs a lot of care, and immediate as possible treatment should be given. So the treatment procedure is that the tooth will be brought down. It depends on the extent of the intrusion occur, that is how much of the tooth structure has gone beyond the level. Depending on that, if it is around 3 mm it has gone up, it can be pulled down by just orthodontic, that is by using brackets it can be pulled down and brought back to the normal occlusion. And otherwise, if it is above 3 mm to 7 mm, we might have to take both the approach, that is surgically as well as orthodontically. So surgically what they do is they try to give an incision and then try to open the gums and get the tooth down, and using the orthodontic brackets they will get it more down. So that will be a slow and steady procedure. But once the tooth is brought to the occlusion, it has to be splinted for almost 4 weeks. After this, once it's been splintered, the tooth has to go for root canal treatment, because once the intrusive, like how I told you, this is the most damaging injury which occurs for the tooth and its structures, the tooth will definitely go for necrosis. So necrosis means the pulp, the tissue which I told is a live tissue, that becomes dead. So because of the impact of the trauma. So immediately after the tooth is being repositioned, we have to start with the root canal treatment, and it has to be splinted for 4 weeks. So this is the intrusive luxation. There are cases even when the tooth comes down because of the trauma. It moves around 1 to 2 mm down, that is it will be just below the contact level. So that is, in such cases it will be below the occlusion. So in this case, this is a minimal damage. So what only repositioning with soft and steady force would be enough, and then it has to be splinted for 2 weeks. So these are the thing during the luxation injuries. Then the last type of injury what we commonly see is that the tooth will be completely damaged. That is, the crown portion will be completely damaged. And in such cases, if this occurs for a primary tooth, we can remove the tooth to avoid any further infection or any abscess. But one depends on the permanent tooth also. If the permanent tooth is going to erupt, yes, we can definitely extract and leave it. If it is like 2 years or it's still, the root is still forming and it is going to take a lot of time for it to erupt, in that case we'll have to extract, do a root canal in kids known as pulpectomy, and give at least retain the root there, so that it will act as a space maintainer. Otherwise we might have to extract and give a space maintainer for kids who are having mill teeth. For permanent teeth, these tooth, like how I told, can be treated as crown fractures, which we do the gum treatment, that is trimming of the gums, just to get a sound tooth structure to hold the cap after the root canal procedure. So basically this tooth will go for root canal procedure, and after that it requires the gum trimming and known as gingivectomy, and then we give the crowns. So as we have learned how and what are the types of traumatic injuries, let us go through the ways we can prevent these traumatic injuries. So like I've already mentioned that these traumatic injuries occur because of fall or sports, which contribute around 20 to 60% of traumatic injuries. So the reasons for traumatic injury. So in these cases, we can prevent these traumatic injuries if a mouth guard, that is we have custom made and ready made mouth guards, if these are given, it has shown that it can reduce these traumatic injuries to a greater extent. Along with the mouth guards, the face mask or the helmets can also prevent road traffic accidents, which can also prevent traumatic injuries caused by road traffic accidents. And in certain cases, like the position of the teeth and the malalignment, which I had told before, if those are corrected orthodontically, even they reduce the risk of traumatic injuries of teeth. So I would like to conclude my topic with a closing statement that prompt, accurate diagnosis will help in reducing the complications of the traumatic injuries and can also plan a proper treatment. So yes, I know this is during the COVID time and everyone is having the fear of it. So many of them avoid to seek a dental help after the trauma. They just delay it. So we at Apollo Dental ensure you that we are taking good precautions according to the protocols, and we are always ready to serve you for any kind of emergencies. So now I would leave the platform for the questionnaire. I have got a question from Saju, that is difference between vital and non-vital teeth. Okay. So vital teeth is basically, like how I told, it's a live tooth. That is the pulp tissue, that is the third layer, like a soft tissue, what I told, is a live tissue. So it has lot of blood vessels, cells and nerves. If that is vital, it means if it is still alive, the tooth is vital. So basically the reason why it has to be vital is for the continued growth of the tooth. Non-vital teeth is basically when your pulp tissue becomes necrosed, that is the tissue gets dead. That is when your blood vessels strangulation occurs and your cells damage. So that is when it is known as necrosis, basically a death of the soft tissue. So once this death happens of the soft tissue happens, the red blood vessels, when they die, they release certain products which start causing the discoloration of the tooth. So this is the difference between vital and non-vital. So according to that, the treatment options also vary. How to be careful to avoid trauma? Yeah, I've already told, certain mouth guards and helmets or face masks are available, headgears are available, which can at least prevent certain kind of traumatic injuries. And then like how I told, the position of the tooth can also, if the malalignment is corrected, even that can avoid lot of traumatic injuries to the teeth. Yeah, I've got another question from Olivia Peter. Anterior or posterior traumatic teeth, which is manageable first? See, according to the importance of our teeth, basically it's a general thing that posterior teeth, that is your back teeth, help in your mastication and for your all the chewing activities with mastication. So first we have to try to manage the posterior teeth. Whereas your anterior, yes, it is basically important, it's equally important, but still we prefer managing first the posterior, because once we lose the back teeth, our dimension, that's the height of the jaws will reduce, because there won't be any proper balance if the teeth are missing. But yes, equally it's both are important, but we give preference for posterior teeth. Is pulp important for treatment? I have a question by Nikita. Yeah, the status of the pulp is what decides the treatment option. Like I told, a vital tooth, normally if there is a fracture which has not exposed the pulp, we can always go ahead with the just restoration. That is simple tooth building up with the composite material. Whereas if the pulp is not vital, it's a dead tissue, in that case we will have to definitely go ahead for root canal. There is a question by Narendra. What can I do to manage an acute dental trauma? It is like first when a trauma occurs. First thing what we will have to do is, because when we have a trauma, there will be soft tissue injuries, then lip injuries, soft tissue like lip injuries, facial injuries, or any lacerations on your gums, lips, nose. All those first, like an emergency, those should be managed. Like first control the bleeding, second apply ice cold packs, and then see if the patient is feeling fine. Is he or she able to sit and move? So all those things have to be managed first. Basic life support should be managed, and once the patient is all fine and is ready to move to a dental chair, then you can go and meet a dental doctor. Next question: how many hours or minute is safe for the knocked out tooth to be outside the mouth? Like I've told, the best time the tooth should be out, the minimum time that is good for getting a good result is 15 minutes. Maximum up to 60 minutes, yes, we can preserve the vitality of the tooth. But more than 60 minutes, there are a lot of complications, like how I told, the resorption, that is the eating away of the tooth, then ankylosis, that is the tooth getting fused with the bone. So those kind of complications are common when it crosses 60 minutes or more. So the best timing would be within 15 minutes, and that too with the help of a transport media. Can you get a cavity in a tooth that already underwent a root canal once? So this is once a root, it depends on what kind of cavity it is. If the root canal has been done for the whole, the tooth has gone for root canal treatment. Normally, if they don't go for a crown, so there could be cavity in the sense not just the decay, it could even be that the fracture of the tooth, because once the root canal is been done, the tooth becomes brittle. So if any undue force, the tooth can fracture. So even that area, once the loss of tooth structure happens, that is also cavitated, which can again lead to other problems. Next question. Hello doctor. How long does it take for tooth to get grey, or does it mean it's dead? There is no time limit for the tooth to start discoloring, but it happens only once the pulp tissue, that is the soft tissue, becomes necrose, that is dead, and it starts producing the chemicals which start discoloring the end products which start discoloring the tooth. So that there are cases where the discoloration, first it starts from becoming yellow, then a little more darker, and then slowly it becomes brown and then grey. That's how it goes. So that takes around years together. So we can at least tell from 3 years to whenever, maximum it goes up to a lot. But then around 3 to 4 years the discoloration starts. Once the tooth is discolored, that means the tooth is dead, because the discoloration, if it is an intrinsic, if it is just because of trauma, it is dead. But there are extrinsic discoloration which are caused by certain food items or coloring agents and certain stains. Those do not count in this. So this is only the discoloration caused due to the death of the tissue. So there are other discolorations also which do not count because of trauma. So any more questions? Okay, I think that's it. So I would like to thank all of you for joining this session, and if there are any more questions, I will address at the comment section. And I hope this session was useful to all, and you will be able to manage if any trauma case occur nearby you or to your known one, so you can act immediately. Okay, thank you.